Everyone loves the Grammys. Everyone loves talking about the Grammys. Everyone loves the awards they give out. But today, I'd like to turn our attention to what may be the least discussed aspect of the Grammy ceremony. The Grammy ceremony. First off, this is not me attacking the current Grammy ceremony or anyone involved with it. Putting on any event, let alone one as big as the Grammys, is a huge undertaking. And it's a shame that the production team's work is only really acknowledged when one thing goes wrong in a 3-hour-plus ceremony where everything else seems to go right. I cannot speak on the Grammys as a producer or team member. I can, however, speak on it as a viewer, with an overactive imagination and an adorable gumption. So I'd like to lay out, in my opinion, the perfect Grammys ceremony. If I didn't bring this up, someone would think I had forgotten it, but trust me, I would never. I bring up length because the Grammys are long, but in fairness, every award show goes long. This is not a unique problem. Maybe it's just a case of Murphy's Law. If you give these award shows 3 hours and they take up 3.5, then whittle them down to 2.5 and they'll go for 3. Also, here on the East Coast, the show runs from like 8 p.m. to 11:30. I hate that. I know they're happening on the West Coast and they start at 5 p.m. there, but I don't care. I suffer enough as an East Coast resident. What with all the snow and the fact that no matter where I live, I'm always going to be close to one of these. Move the ceremony up by 2 hours and we'd be golden. Grammys hosts are a motley crew, but they're not motley crew if you understand me at this time. Sometimes it's a musician, sometimes it's an actor, sometimes it's nobody. The ceremony went without a host from 2006 to 2011. Trevor Noah has been the host for the past 3 ceremonies and this upcoming one, and I think he's been good. He's been excited. Really excited. Why am I kind of put off by that? I mean, that's good for a host, right? To be excited about the thing that you're hosting, but I think it's just my own prior background of knowing him clashing with how he presents at the Grammys. He got his start giving nuanced political takes on The Daily Show, and then he's at the Grammys like, look at all the famous people on your screen! I'm sorry, dude, I just can't get excited about people on a screen anymore. Does the Grammy ceremony need a host? I'm not sure. I don't think that we think about Grammys hosts in the same way that we do about hosts for the Oscars or the Golden Globes. You don't hear people the next day saying, wow, the Grammy host's monologue was great. Or, man, that Grammy host really called out those Hollywood dirtbags while also existing in and benefiting from the underlying toxic system. Go stream Afterlife on Netflix now. I'd be fine with no host, but if there had to be one, James Acaster, Hassan Minhaj, John Mulaney, Vince Staples. Probably not his type of gig, but he'd be really funny. Did you see he's got his own show on Netflix now? That's cool. The Grammy ceremony is actually 2 ceremonies, the one on TV and the non-televised premiere ceremony earlier the same day. On TV, the amount of awards they give out could be counted on 2 hands. For the premiere ceremony, you would need way more hands. Get on my level. I crunched the numbers for the past 5 ceremonies, and they usually give out 9 awards on live TV. The big 4, 1 or 2 for pop, 1 or 2 for rap, and 1 or 2 oddballs like Best Comedy Album in 2020. The debate on whether the Grammys should lean more towards music or awards has raged inside of me, like something that goes against a machine. I do want to celebrate the people who make or contribute to the making of music. At the same time, the Grammys are special in that they can actually demonstrate the things that are nominated in a holistic way. You can't just play every nominated movie or TV show during the Oscars or the Emmys. If a song is nominated for a Grammy, you could have the song performed at the Grammys. Yeah, you couldn't play a whole album, but still. And hey, isn't it a form of celebration to perform songs that are up for awards? The only comparable show in that sense is the Tonys, where you can perform a whole song from a musical even if you can't perform the musical itself. So with that in mind, I have 2 scenarios that could work. In the first, more conservative scenario, they would give out 8 awards during the TV show. The big 4, then 1 for pop, 1 for rap, 1 for country, and an oddball. I'm not saying it should be Best Engineered Album Non-Classical. Wait a second. This is my imagined scenario. I can do whatever I want. It absolutely will be Best Engineered Album Non-Classical. Then the performances are interspersed throughout the show as normal. My second scenario is a wee bit radical. I was inspired by this Ringer article where they segmented the Oscars into 3 different micro-ceremonies that cater to different audiences. In this scenario, the awards and the performances would be totally separated. The first 2 hours would be a giant concert with all the different musicians, and the third hour would just be a handful of awards handed out one right after the other. Also, the big 4 are the last 4 given out, no matter what. Remember 2022 where they gave Song of the Year out as the first award of the night? What the hell? I wouldn't touch any of the standard segments, In Memoriam, the Recording Academy CEO's speech, a mention of music hairs, they are all fine to stay. However, I would scrap any segments like montages or dumb comedy bits that don't add anything of real value. Last year, they had these roundtable discussions where each person was a super fan of one of the Album of the Year nominees, and they discussed why they thought their favorite album should win. This year, I hope they don't do that. I'd like to start this off by sharing one of my favorite Grammy performances. It's not Daft Punk with Stevie Wonder, it's not Pink, it's not Madonna and Gorillaz, it's not Kendrick. Well, actually, it is Kendrick. And Imagine Dragons in 2014. I know this collaboration makes 0 sense, but once I explain further, you will realize that it makes 0 sense. Let's consider where these 2 acts were in 2014. Imagine Dragons was hot off Radioactive and It's Time, 2 bona fide pop-leaning alt-rock hits. You may have your feelings about them now, but that point in time was where their book began and the rest was still unwritten. And Kendrick Lamar had just dropped one of the greatest debut albums in recent memory. Yeah, this combination didn't make any sense, but the resulting performance was excellent. Imagine Dragons as the backing band for Mad City, Taylor Swift living her best life in the front row, then the chorus of Radioactive, then Kendrick drops a brand new verse out of nowhere while the Imagined Dragons go ham on percussion? That's great! Forgive me for buying into the marketing hype, but that's the kind of thing that only the Grammys can do. And that's what I'd like to see more of. This is one of the only nights all year where a good chunk of musicians popular in America come together under one roof. Let them play together, and, when possible, make it weird. Post Malone and Turnstile, Olivia Rodrigo and Avril Lavigne, Rolling Stones and Ice Spice, Paramore and Samara Joy, Stevie Nicks and Lana Del Rey, Miley Cyrus and Fred again, Noah Kahan and Foo Fighters. I could go on, but you get the point. I feel like, within the past 3 years or so, each Grammy performance has become a contained entity. Harry Styles does a Harry Styles song. Olivia Rodrigo does an Olivia Rodrigo song. Everyone does their own songs, and that's it. None of those performances are bad because of that. Obviously, some of the best Grammy performances of the past few years have been centered around one artist. Plus, not every left field collab at the Grammys has been a winner. Do any of you remember the 2020 performance of I Sing the Body Electric with Camila Cabello, Ben Platt, Common, Cyndi Lauper, The Warren Treaty, Gary Clark Jr., Lang Lang? But I'm not talking about quality. Aside from any flourishes added for the show, you can pull up any of the songs performed on Spotify and they'll sound basically the same. There isn't a gripping reason to see them do their songs here. Look, I know that when viewed under a certain light, the performances are basically just ads for the music. That's probably the most cynical way of looking at the whole show. The Grammys as a bunch of commercials. So maybe the Tonys aren't the right comparison point. Maybe it's the Game Awards. But if this really is music's biggest night, with all of these stars on the screen, make it music's biggest night. I'd love to see more collaborations and more weird-ass performances. So those are my ideas for a perfect Grammy ceremony. If you have any ideas for what would make the perfect ceremony in your mind, let me know in the comments below. And hopefully the Recording Academy will watch this video and be able to implement all of our ideas for the next ceremony that happens in a few days. Thank you and good night!